In this world that we live in, and equally in all past societies, it is very easy to be negative. It's very easy to be pessimistic. It's very easy to constantly find the bad in situations. See, everywhere you go, in most societies, the average person is negative. Oh, yeah, and if you can hear the change in my voice, I'm sick. But this sickness doesn't change me sharing what I have to know to you guys. But, anyways, in every society, you'll find that most people are negative. Most people, they're always talking about the bad. We're in a recession. Do you see people losing their jobs? Do you see that the AI is cutting all these jobs? People always focus on the bad things in every single society, right? So much so that when you meet someone positive, it's like a good thing. Like, oh, this person's positive. He's so optimistic. That's what like people look for in a partner. Like the reason they look for it and specify it is because it is a normal. And we know, if you're on my page, you know, and if you don't know, I'm about to educate you that your emotions have a direct impact on the life that you live, right? It's very metaphysical, but the emotions that you feel day to day directly correlate to the type of life that you live. Your emotions, if you look at the electromagnetic spectrum, your thoughts, you know how they say thoughts create reality, right? Your thoughts, they emit a frequency, they emit like energy into the atmosphere. I know this sounds wishy washy, I don't care. Your thoughts emit energy into the atmosphere. However, your heart emits multiple times that. I can't remember the exact number, so I'm not going to lie to you. But it's like a lot more times the amount of energy that your mind receives, the amount of energy that your mind emits from your thoughts. So your emotions have a reality creating effect. But knowing this isn't enough to change your life. Because if you're like me and you've grown up in a place where there's a lot of tomfoolery, for those of you who don't know, you may be a new viewer, I may never have said it, you may not be able to tell from my accent, but I have grown up in Zimbabwe. And if you know even the slightest thing about Zimbabwe, you know that there's a lot of tomfoolery going on here. Whether it's it boasting the highest inflation rate in Africa, whether there's some things that I just don't want to talk about online, but just though there's a lot of tomfoolery going on in Zimbabwe. Sometimes you're driving, a combi driver cuts in your lane and they start hooting at you as if you're the problem. Like imagine you'll be in Zim, you're driving. We drive on the left side of the road. This combi driver will be coming towards you and you'll be in your lane. So that means he's driving on the right side of the road in order to avoid traffic. But he will be hooting at you as if you're in the wrong, and that stuff just puts you in a negative mood. This will happen at 6 a.m. First thing in the morning, you've just left your house, you're not even fully awake, and someone's hooting at you for driving in the right lane. There's just so many things that go on in Zim. Rising prices. One day the bread's 90 cents, the next day it's $2, and you're like, what? The next day it's $1. Next day it's 5. You're like, what? There's massive rates of unemployment. In fact, the biggest sector in Zim is the informal sector. So most people in Zim just don't have jobs, right? So growing up in Zim, there's always been something to be negative about, and rightfully so. That's one thing I'll say about Zim. People have every right to be negative every day. Every right. Every single right. In a lot of ways, growing up here has been the biggest blessing in my life because I've been surrounded by so many negative emotions day to day. I've been exposed to situations that should make me negative every single day. And yet, I found that Zimbabweans are probably some of the most positive people in the world. And this is because Zimbabweans have simply learned how to be alchemists of emotions, turn negative into positive. Just like how the alchemists would turn lead into gold, we turn negative emotions into positive emotions. And that is exactly what you're going to learn in this video. So I hope you enjoy and I hope you get a lot out of it. So first of all, this video isn't going to be some toxic positivity video. It's not going to be a video where I tell you that, just smile in the face of negative situations, right? A lot of things are going to happen in your life. And a lot of times you're going to feel negative about those things. Let's say your girlfriend breaks up with you. Let's say you lose 10,000. Let's say your economy's currency just becomes worthless literally after one night, right? It's happened to us twice. 3 times? I don't even know how many times. I wasn't really aware of what was happening the first time it happened in my lifetime. But it's happened twice, where just in the flash of an eye, wow, your money is just worthless. So this isn't going to be some toxic positivity thing where I just tell you smile, everything's going to be fine. everything is okay. Just always find the positive side in things, right? Because the truth about emotions is if you don't process them, they are not going to just go away. They're going to come up, and they're going to come up at the most unopportune times, at the worst time that it can possibly come up. You're going to be, and that's actually just a male flaw. Males tend to just suppress negative emotions. We don't face them, we never process them. So much so that one day you're in class, you drop your pencil and you start crying, and you're like, why am I crying over my pencil? And it's like, no, you're crying because you've been suppressing every single negative emotion over the past year. You have not processed a single emotion. So I touched on this at the beginning of the video, but I'm going to go more in depth on the destructive nature of thoughts. See, a lot of the times people just tell you to, men especially, just ignore how you feel, how your thoughts, your emotions don't matter. Ignore how you feel. And though in the context that that advice is given, it is true. Like when you want to be disciplined, when you want to do something, break out of a toxic habit, don't listen to your emotions. Because a lot of the times your emotions are steering you to the life that you're living. But the fact that those emotions are steering you to the life that you're living, you're trying to escape, shows that your emotions are directly corresponding to the type of life that you live. Whenever you do something that is uncomfortable, whenever you feel discomfort, whenever you feel unease, it's an emotion that's coming because you're living out of alignment, right? And whether you're in alignment or not isn't the scope of this video. The point is your emotions control the life that you're living. The fact that when you do something out of whack, you feel something, shows that your emotions are corresponding to the life that you're living, right? So that just shows how important your emotions are. So let's say if you are always feeling negative emotions, what type of life are you going to live? See, think about the most negative person you know. What type of life do they live? Are they regularly disappointed? Do things regularly not go their way? Do things always seem to fall apart in the weirdest of ways? And one would argue that they feel all these negative emotions because nothing's going their way. But I would argue, and a lot of the masters of thought would argue that things are not going their way because they're constantly feeling negative. Your thoughts have a direct impact in controlling the type of life that you live. That's why you find that in your seasons of life, whatever state you're going in, whether you're locked in life, whether you're going through a heartbreak, whether you just got into a slump, you're in a rut, and nothing was working for you, everything was tight. Like nothing was working for you. Or times where literally everything you touch turned to gold. Have you noticed in each of those phases of life, you had a distinct signature emotion that you felt? Whether it be shame after a break, whether it be shame after a breakup, whether it be extreme optimism in those times where everything you touch turns to gold, whether it be confidence, serene self confidence, whether it be anxiety, whether it be a feeling of worthlessness. In every phase of your life where you can see a consistent trend, accompanying that is an emotion. So that shows that your emotions have a direct impact on the type of life that you live. So the fact that your emotions have a direct impact on the type of life you live will mean that when you're now aware of this, you no longer want to just constantly feel negative emotions. You no longer want to just entertain those thoughts, those negative emotions, those feeling like you're worthless, feeling like you're not enough, feeling like you don't have enough, feeling like you'll never have enough, feeling like you can never do anything, feeling hopeless, feeling apathetic, feeling everything. You don't want to constantly be dealing with those emotions, and you want to change them to positive. And just me saying change your emotions, your negative emotions to positive, you're probably thinking, Takura, how is that possible? How can I change my emotions from positive to negative? How can I go from sad to happy? Don't worry. Don't worry. Worry about me being sick. Worry about me being sick, because damn. I think I'm going to stop cutting my videos. I always cut when I'm not talking. But I think that takes away from the video. And it takes away from my randomness. Because I'm a very unserious person. Any of my friends watching this, just comment down. How unserious am I? It's like a paradox. Like I'm very silly. I'm very serious, but at the same time, I'm probably the most unserious person you meet. Like I'll laugh at anything. In a situation where I'm not supposed to laugh, I'll be the first person to laugh, and I'll look at you to make sure that you laugh as well. Like very unserious. But anyways, as I was saying, now that you know that, or you're at least aware that your emotions have a direct impact on the type of life that you're creating for yourself, you're thinking, okay, how can I turn negative emotions into positive? How can I get rid of the positive? I mean, not the positive. How can I get rid of the negative, right? And to illustrate this, I first have to introduce two Hermetic laws. For those of you who don't know who the Hermetics are, they're essentially like the ancient Egyptians, like the wise people of the ancient Egyptians. These were like the people, the founders of wisdom per se. How far true you think these things are, it's not my concern. The point is, these things, they're very wise. I've read the books, very wise, applicable, and what they say works. So, to explain this, we have two laws: the law of vibration and the law of polarity. Starting off with the law of vibration, I'm not going to say these things as they said them, I'm just going to conceptualize them how I understand them. The law of vibration, and if you've done physics or chemistry, you will know this to be true, that all particles, all things are in a constant state of movement. That movement being vibration, everything vibrates. Even the objects that you're looking at, this VIX, which I have on my desk because I'm sick. So it just, I can actually put it like it's gonna stop my congestion. You see, this is how random I am. Let me focus on the video. All things, even the solid things that you think aren't vibrating, are vibrating. We are all made of the same elements per se. Of course, the periodic elements. I don't know, 127 of them. Sorry, I can't quite remember how many elements there are. But there's 100 and something elements, right? But we are all made, or everything that exists on earth vibrates. And the only difference between this book here, between this VIX here, between my wonderful key, between this battery that's finished for my digital camera, the only difference between all those things is the rate of vibration. Right? You can even see this with sound. It's easier to illustrate it with sound. The only difference between this sound and this sound and this sound, the only difference between those sounds is the rate of vibration. Now you can even see it with colors. The only difference between the color of my book here. Oh yeah, by the way, if you want a book that is a sensational book on mental health, everything I've learned, everyone who's read it and given me feedback has said that, you know what, I'm going to come back to this book. If you want a book that is amazing for mental health and isn't written by some professor who's trying to sound smart, check the link in the bio and it'll take you to the checkout page. If you're not in Zimbabwe, if you're not in Harare, namely, you're going to have to get a digital version for now. Soon, or you're shipping very soon. But for now, you're not gonna get this. You're gonna get a digital version. But anyways, the only difference between this color here, right, of this book, the color of this chocolate, why I have a chocolate on my desk, don't ask, and the color of my wallet is the rate of vibration. Quite honestly, the only difference between things in this world is the rate of vibration. The only difference between you and me is our rate of vibration. And I know that sounds wishy-washy, I know that sounds stupid, but that is the only difference between you and me. So now that you know that all particles vibrate, everything vibrates. The only difference between an emotion, one emotion, and another emotion is the rate of vibration. Now, I know I said two laws, right? There's actually going to be three. The next one is Newton's, I don't know if it's Newton's law, but essentially, energy cannot be created or destroyed, but only transformed into another form of energy. So keep that in mind. All particles vibrate, all particles have an energy about them. So you have an energy about you. Emotions that you feel have an energy about them, right? So that's why you see that, let's say, when people want to get rid of an energy, right? That emotion is energy. Those vibrations create energy. That's why when you see when people are feeling, let's say, sad, they're feeling angry, they go to the gym, they box, lift weights, because they're like, you know what, I just want to get rid of the energy. They're not getting rid of the energy, they're just transforming that anger into the kinetic energy of your arms, whatever, is just using that energy, right? So know that you can't get rid of your negative emotions, like just get rid of them. You have to replace them for something else. So now you're thinking, okay, what do I replace my negative emotions with? Now let me tell you about the law of polarity. So in this physical plane that we live in, like if you look in reality, there exist polarities in everything. So there's hot, there's cold, there's masculine. I don't know why I'm pointing out for saying masculine, but there's masculine, there's feminine. The reason why I'm pointing at myself of both of them is because we're both. People like to get into the, you know what, the randomness is coming out. But there's masculine, there's feminine, there's hot, there's cold, there's nice, there's mean, there's evil, there's good, right? And with everything in life, their polarity, easy, hard, whatever the polarity may be, sour, sweet, right? And the law of polarity states that the difference between things at opposing ends of the pole, the difference between warm water and cold water, is simply their rate of vibration. And you know this in chemistry. When you look at gases, let's say water, steam, right? Once it's boiling, compare it to ice. Ice, I don't know why ice, gas like steam and ice are made up of the same thing. The only difference is their rate of vibration, right? And you may be thinking, okay, why am I telling you this? The only difference is their rate of vibration. But the only difference between ice and steam is this rate of vibration. The only difference between something that is warm and cold is this rate of vibration. The only difference between something that is hard and easy is this rate of vibration. The only difference between something that is hard, like this disc, and something that is like soft, like this water, I guess, is this rate of vibration. Now, the only difference between being angry and being joyful is a rate of vibration. So you're now thinking, okay, if you're smart, you're thinking, how can I alter my vibration so that I get the opposing emotion? So if you're feeling the negative, you get the positive. Relax, we're not there yet. Will we ever get there yet? I don't know. I don't know. Let me know if you want me to cut things out. I think this wasn't the best video to start with no cutting because I am sick. And so you're going to hear a lot of weird sounds. But I don't care because it's my channel. So if you don't, why am I apologizing? This is my channel. But, anyways, so you have now seen that the only difference between certain emotions is their rate of vibration. But here's a caveat to this: you can only change from positive to negative if the emotions or whatever you're trying to change is similar in nature, right? So you can't go from hot to spicy, like you can't go from cold to sweet. Like, it doesn't make sense. But you can go from cold to warm. You can go from easy to hard. You're not gonna go from hard to spicy. You're not gonna go from hard to like prickly. Like, you're not gonna go from that, right? But you can go from hard to soft. So now applying that train of thought to your emotions, you're not going to go from joyful to lazy. Like, how are joy and laziness correlated? You're not going to go from happiness to anxiety. I know it sounds like you can, but you're not going to go from happiness to anxiety. However, you can go from anxiety to peace, to calm, to serenity. You can go from happiness to sadness. You can go from joy to despair. You can go from enthusiasm to apathy. You can go from feeling insecure to feeling very secure. And the famous one, you can go from love to hate and from hate to love. If you hate anyone, you'll find that there's a great probability that you love that person at one time, that you adore them for something. There's something I don't know what you adore them for, but you adore them. Right? So when you want to transmute, to change negative into positive, it has to be things in the same nature. So if the negative emotion that you're feeling right now is apathy, I'm not suddenly going to make you feel peaceful. Like apathy and peace, they're not of the same nature. So therefore, you can't change apathy to peace, but you can change apathy to enthusiasm. So the first step to changing and becoming a mental alchemist and changing your negative emotions to positive emotions is to determine exactly what you're feeling. And I know a lot of the time, especially as men, you're like, I don't know what I'm feeling. The reason why we don't know is because we never sit with ourselves. But I truly believe if you sit with yourself for long enough, you'll be able to exactly tell yourself what is wrong, which is interesting because a lot of the times we always look externally to fix our lives, externally for solutions. But I think it was Socrates. I don't know if it was Socrates. It was this Greek guy. And he said, know thyself. And I truly think that the step to mastering your life and getting the best out of life is to truly know yourself. And knowing yourself means cultivating that daily habit of just being present with yourself, to know what you are going through, to know how you are in that present moment, right? So once you know what you're feeling, just sit down. If you don't know what you're feeling in those stages where you say, I don't know what I'm feeling, that's okay. Like sometimes you actually don't know how you feel. But the more you sit with that emotion, the more you just allow yourself to be, eventually you're going to pinpoint exactly what you're feeling. My throat. My throat. My throat. So exactly, you're going to pinpoint exactly. Said exactly twice. You're eventually going to be able to pinpoint exactly what you're feeling. Now, once you've pinpointed, let's say right now you're just feeling insecure. I'm actually going to make a video on that, how to change your insecurities into securities. But let's say you're feeling insecure. In fact, since I'm making a video, I'm not going to give you that example. Let's say you're feeling sad. Let's say you're feeling apathetic, exactly. One of my friends messaged me saying he's feeling apathetic. Well, not apathetic, but I'm just going to use the example of apathetic. He's lost his motivation for life. But let's just say apathetic, right? He's feeling apathetic. What's the difference between apathy? It would be a state of caring, a state of enthusiasm towards the things that one is apathetic towards. So, now that you know you can only change things of a certain nature to its opposite, you'll be thinking, okay, how do I change my apathy to enthusiasm? Because my apathy is clearly coming from the life that I'm living. Like everything around me is telling me to be apathetic. I'm striving for my goals, I'm not getting anywhere. I'm reaching out to clients, they're ignoring me. I'm doing these assignments and getting 12 out of 25. I'm trying to talk to this girl and she just isn't replying to me. Like nothing is working. And off the face of it, you may think that, yeah, nothing is working. How can I turn my apathy into enthusiasm? And when you face that, a lot of people tend to just resign their emotional control, their mental control to externalities. So, for example, you will allow the world to dictate how you feel. So, you will only feel enthusiastic when you feel that there's something that you need to be enthusiastic about. You only feel happy when the world is indicating to you that there's something to be happy about. But, like I said in the beginning of this video, that your emotions I believe, create the life that you live. That's why each period of your life there's a signature emotion. There's certain times where you just felt like you were just floating. Other times you felt extremely enthusiastic, extremely motivated. Then the other times where you just did not care at all. Right? Guys, don't get sick. So, anyways, you give your power over your emotions, your thoughts, your moods to what's going on besides you. So essentially, you are making what goes on outside of you your master. Think about it that way, like you're letting the world control how you feel. So if you go out and there's a combi driver who swerves into your lane, now you're angry. Or if your boss says, "Why aren't you doing enough?" Now you feel worthless. If your girlfriend questions, "Oh, why can't you do this for me?" Now you feel like it's not enough. And it's like you create this roller coaster for yourself where you don't know how you're gonna feel. You create this lack of stability. But anyways, I'm going on a tangent. Like, let me just explain to you how you do this. The way you do this is through visualization. So, one thing, one thing is true, and you can observe it when you just see. And you can observe it from the example that I've just given you. That a lot of the times we give our power to outside circumstances to control our emotions. But what if we use the same power to control our own emotions? And what I'm getting at is like you allow certain events that go on to just to dictate your level of happiness, right? Oh, you got a raise. Oh, I'm feeling abundant. I'm rich. Oh, you got paid. Yeah, I'm rich. You don't have money. I'm poor. Your girlfriend broke up with you. I'm not enough. See, the events, right, seemingly controlling the way you feel. However, let me let you in on an interesting thing. Your mind doesn't know the difference between real and fake. So if you experience something even just mentally that is so vividly like it's so vivid that it seems real to your mind, the effects of that will be the same as if it were actually real. So if you visualize something strong enough to the point where it's like extremely vivid and it was as if it was happening in real life, you would feel the same emotions you would feel if that happened in real life. So in transmuting your emotions from negative to positive. First, like I said, you have to pinpoint what the emotion is. Um, let's say apathy. Now you want to feel enthusiastic. You have to think to yourself and think truly to yourself. Apply this only to yourself. What would make me enthusiastic right now? What am I enthusiastic about? What do I want to do? A lot of the times when we like enthusiasm is because we aren't doing things that we align to. We're not doing things that we want to do. It's like we're forcing ourselves to do certain things because we think we should be doing those things. Like sometimes I see this a lot when people come to me asking for books. Like, oh, what book should I read? And it's like, I don't want to tell you what book you should read because you know what you want to read. Like deep down, you know what you want to read. And it's like the thing that you'll be most enthusiastic about is the thing that you want to do. So, anyways, changing from apathy to enthusiasm, you have to ask yourself, like, what do I want to do? More than anything, what do I want? What would it look like if I were enthusiastic? And once you pinpoint whether it's an event that you think will make you enthusiastic, whether it's an ideal, a purpose, whatever you think will make you enthusiastic, right? Now you have to mentally and vividly imagine that until it gets to a point where your brain genuinely believes it's real. And the point to which you get, and the point at which your brain starts to believe it's real is when it starts producing an emotion. So you will find that, let's say for me, with this enthusiasm thing, I never really think about an end point, but I just think about what makes me enthusiastic. Like, okay, reading nice books, um, making nice videos that I really like, whatever. I just visualize myself in an enthusiastic way. I find the point of enthusiasm, this is an important thing that I've forgotten to say. In every negative situation, every situation that causes you to be positive, Newton's law, for every force, there's an equal and opposing force. So in every negative situation, there is an equally positive aspect to it. So whatever your situation is, why you feel apathetic, you need to find that seed of positivity and number one, focus on that. Once you focus on that, you now visualize something pertaining to that seed of positivity that you found. So let's say when you're apathetic, like nothing's working. The equal and opposite to that is I can only go up and there's everything to work, if that makes sense. Like there's a possibility of everything working. So if nothing's working, the equal and opposite force to that is everything can work. And I know that sounds wishy-washy, but just try it. If you're feeling apathetic, like nothing's going my way, tell yourself, but the only way is up. Things can go my way. Everything can. If nothing's going my way right now, everything can go my way. Possibly. So just find the seed, as delusional as it may be, find the seed of opposing equality. I don't know if equality is a word, but you know what I mean. And then after you do that, focus on that, create a visualization of that. And you'll find that as you sit in this visualization, as you try mentally transmute negative into positivity, you're going to start feeling the emotions that you would have felt, like the opposite emotions. So instead of apathy, you're going to start feeling enthusiasm, right? Instead of sadness, you're going to start feeling happiness. Instead of hate, you're going to feel love. And the thing is, we do this naturally, but never consciously. We're just bringing something up that we already do and making it conscious. See, people who are pessimistic, they do this all the time. Like, you tell them positive news and they'll be like, but you know that means like, oh, what if you fail? Like, they're just doing it. It's just become an unconscious kind. It has become an unconscious thing for them to find the negative seed in a positive situation. But now we are going to do the opposite. We want to make it conscious for us to find the positive seed in a negative situation. And now, once you do this, it's not that you won't feel negative emotions, but you will be able to change the negative into positive soon enough so that it doesn't completely derail the day you're having. It doesn't derail the month you're having. It doesn't directly contribute to the type of life that you're living. Because whether you believe it or not, your emotions create the life that you live. So if you're constantly feeling apathetic, you're going to live a life that is resultant, a life that confirms, that reinforces that feeling of apathy. Have you noticed that whenever you're feeling bad, there's this saying, when it rains it pours. So whenever you're feeling bad, like you normally have things that will make you feel bad, you get more of those things. Yeah, I need to chop my nails. Damn. Sorry for that. Like, damn. Anyway. Anyways, I'm just looking at the notes I have here. Um. Anyways, once you learn how to do this, you actually become a mental alchemist. You become an alchemist of emotion, and it takes you a step further in just mastering your life, mastering yourself. Because even if emotions didn't have any effect on the life that you live, of which they do, but even if they didn't, wouldn't you want to feel positive more often than not? Wouldn't you want to, when you face a situation that makes you feel hopeless, that you find something that makes you feel optimistic, that makes you feel hopeful? Wouldn't you want, in the face of chaos, to be able to feel peace? See, everything's going wrong around you. But the equal positive opposite of that is that There's so much potential for things to get better that it'll make a nice story. And sometimes that's a positive. That when I get out of this, it'll make a nice story. And that's the thing that you focus on. You mentally create a picture where you have gotten out of it, or what you think it would look like if you had gotten out of it, right? And you focus on that. You visualize that every single day. And that visualization will induce those feelings of hopefulness. And the more you do this, the more it becomes your base emotion. And you will enter this feeling where you're just hopeful. And I'm not saying that once you do this, once you feel the positive emotion, that the negative emotion isn't going to come back. The lives we live, they're like that. We face things every day. You're going to have something every day, whether it's every 2 days, 3 days, a month, that's going to make you feel negative. But the point of this video is to equip you to be able to change, to alchemize. This channel is for alchemists. That's my nickname. My friends call me Alchemist. Not for this reason, but this is the reason that you're going to get it. The point of this video is to equip you to be able to change your negative emotions into positive before they have a chance to impact the life that you're living. And with all that being said, that is how to become an alchemist of thoughts. Sorry. With all that being said, that is how to become an alchemist of emotion. Changing negative into positive. Just like how the ancient alchemists changed lead into gold. This is a video now to take control of your inner world, to become not only a mental alchemist, but an emotional alchemist.